And we are live. Welcome to episode number 31 of the Risk Reward Show presented by Risk Reward Media. My name is Cris Mercado, aka Mr. Risk. And as usual, I am joined by
Mr. Reward.
And we are here to help you find the upside in your career, in your business ventures, and in your personal life. So, as usual, we will start with the Risk Reward Weekly Rewind. And this one is going to be slightly personal, but I will start off with a thank you to Forbes. And that's because I was named to the next 1,000 list of entrepreneurs and businesses. So kudos to everyone that's helped me grow Grand Answers for the past 8 years. This is one hell of a way to celebrate the 8th anniversary of Grand Answers this summer. So thank you all who have really just supported throughout that journey. And thanks to Forbes for amplifying my story and my impact.
There you go. I want to give you a big round of applause. It's not often that I meet someone that's on the Forbes list, so I'm definitely going to use that. But just like I said before, this is another just like accolade that you can add. I know many don't see the work that you do, but I'm happy that it's going to be just broadcast throughout the entire world because everybody is going to look at Forbes. So, but on another note, use that to your advantage.
Yes, sometimes humility might be a little bit too strong, and I don't really maximize this opportunity, and I'm determined this time around to amplify it a little bit more. I hope that my network amplifies it as well. And what I'm most excited about, which I'll touch upon a little bit later, is really being part of this network of ascending entrepreneurs and business owners. So I'm excited, and thank you personally for your support. And I hope to see what now works on that list. I hope to see you Hopefully on these lists within the next couple of years.
All right. Hopefully I make the Forbes next 2,000, 750 or something like that.
Yes, they have a couple of lists, but I'm glad to be on one. Cool. So let's pivot into another weekly rewind that you're especially expert in, which is this crypto NFT space.
Yeah.
And you came across some funny activity on OpenSeas.
Yeah,
tell us about that.
I didn't come across, but this is something that's being spoken about. So for those who don't know, NFTs have been like the big topic of like anything crypto that's basically what an NFT is. It's a non-fungible token. Basically it's like your digital, something that's digital that you do own. So whether this is gaining, a lot of like steam within like the music space. So let's say, for instance, if you have an album and you release it as like an NFT, you own that album. So it's not like it's something that you can possibly buy it from like other places and stuff like that. But you as the artist or like the person who made this album, it is your album. But how NFTs have been used lately is just for like, just like photos and graphics. And the marketplace where they have all of these graphics at is called OpenSeas. OpenSeas is basically like the platform for you to buy, sell, and trade your NFTs. Some of the most popular ones are like Lazy Lion, CryptoPunks, RumbleKongs. Like those are some of the most like popular ones. So these like NFTs literally go for like a couple of ETH, maybe like a full ETH or something like that. And the Ethereum coin now, I think, is hovering around like $3,000 now. So that's the price of you to own this stuff. So when it first comes out, it could probably be like a couple of hundred, but the more like popularity that it gains and the more that people want it, the value goes up. So basically what happened with OpenSeas is that one of the people that work there was basically doing some insider trading. It sounds weird, but basically what he was doing is he knew, or he was taking account of which like NFTs would be the ones to pop, and basically making sure that he had a cut before they like did pop. So for instance, one of the most, I guess, like expensive ones out there are the crypto punks. And these are like various, images that are like kind of like just like pixelated to where it's not like a full face, but you can kind of see it. But those things are going for like literally millions of dollars. So think of like 100 ETH, 200 ETH. So if I can get that at like an earlier price, and then knowing that it's going to reach that high, just imagine the reward that this person gained. But it's been something that kind of, I feel like whenever these bad things happen in like the world of crypto, it stains like the whole field of it. I mean, I know crypto is something that's brand new. It's not a lot of like, regulation around it, but stuff like this hurts it so much, because now you have people that are thinking like, oh, like who else is, making sure that these these NFTs are going high and stuff like that. So me personally, I think, every space is going to have like its bad apples. But it just sucks to see that this is happening here. But within the crypto space, like this trading of like pumping and dumping is always something that we're always scared of, because it makes us look bad, but also people who are doing this are making tons of money. But just reading on the article a couple of hours ago, I think the person who was responsible or accused of this trading has now like resigned from the OpenSeas platform. So hopefully this would be the last, bad press that they get, and people can openly trade like their NFTs. But that's pretty much it with how this NFT space is going. But Cris, I think it's time for us to get into it, because it's very, 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 very good.
Yes. So behind the scenes, I've been advising someone
Mhm.
who is getting into NFTs. By advising on the business end of this, I'm also learning about NFTs. And I have found that that's how I learn best. It's the doing and investing, if not my money, then my time and resources in it, not just to um kind of like read up on an article and like learn that way, but actually be in the weeds of helping someone more artistically talented than I am um, create their own. So that's been my approach. I'm still very early. And the reason why fraudulent activity like this, and we had talked about fraudulent activity in the past. I remember that article last week that we mentioned, talking about Litecoin and Walmart. And
Mhm.
the reason why these are so damaging is because this is an emerging space that already has detractors and doubters. That's what happens in emerging spaces. So for us to see the full potential of cryptos and the NFT space, we want more participation. But when you have fraud like this, you're inherently supporting the doubters and the detractors. And that is why I think, to the fullest extent of the law, this activity needs to be punished. In fact, I would argue, be harsher and let that be a signal to everybody else who has gotten a little bit too greedy and has clearly crossed some lines. Because in the long run, if you can deter some of this behavior, then you will allow this emerging space to truly blossom. And like, we want that. And I'm contrarian by nature. So of course I'm gonna wait it out, maybe look into it slowly. But I have dipped my toes into crypto. And then now I am dipping my toes into NFTs. So I might be late, but I still want to be in it. Let's not let bad actors prevent others who are curious but haven't made that leap yet. Let's not let these bad actors like get in the way of other people participating. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, so hopefully, just like I said, hopefully like it changes. But yeah, but I feel like with any new space, you always have those bad apples, and it just sucks that it happens to be crypto because it's such a great space, I think. But people are definitely going to get greedy and take advantage of it.
Yes, and speaking of taking advantage, we had a versus this past week, and I took advantage of an opportunity to get a free ticket that Swizz Beatz set aside, so that I could attend versus in person for the first time at the Hulu Theater in Madison Square Garden, seeing Ja Rule, Fat Joe. I gotta say, I had a blast. That was so much fun. I had decent seats. It was free. Ashanti came out.
That's all that matters.
What more can you say?
Yeah.
So I want, because we're both hip hop fans. But I remember you texting me like, how the hell did I get these? Like, I can't reveal all the magic.
Yeah.
But I was wondering what you thought of the whole versus between Ja and Fat Joe.
The verses was cool. I love the fact that Joey Crack had like an outfit change. I think that was funny. But what I would say is I really believe that Dipset and the Locks, they changed the whole dynamic of like verses. Before, I feel like verses was like very, very friendly to where like you go, then I go, then you go, then I go. I feel like for like Soulja Boy and Bow Wow, there was like a little like jabs like here and there. But ever since the Dipset and Locks, I feel like now people are like, oh, we can talk like this? Great. And that's where I believe Fat Joe got too caught up. And also, I really believe that a lot of people know of like Fat Joe, but they don't know Fat Joe. And this is how like he normally talks about people, or just like he just talks just like, when he's just around friends and stuff like that. So he did go overboard when he called, I believe it was Vita and Lil Mo. I think he called them like crackheads or something like that, which I think was a little bit too far. Because one, they weren't involved in like the entire, they were in like the verses, but I'm sure that they weren't, okay with him saying that. And like the internet gave him so much backlash. But
I didn't actually hear him say that word, but I heard him say live, Ja, you need to feed these girls. And that alone was like disrespectful.
Yeah. So once again, I feel like they took it to like that next level without making sure that everybody was like, are you okay with me going like this far? But overall, I will say the verses was very good. Ja Rule has hits upon hits. Fat Joe got hits upon hits. But in my eyes, I think Ja won that one.
Ja won it. He has roots in Queens. So once again, Queens defeats the Bronx. But I think, again, like they said, hip hop wins. And we both come from neighborhoods where that sort of back and forth, that trash talk, that's the norm.
It's normal. Yeah.
In fact, it's expected. Like they're testing you. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is in great fun. Once in a while, people cross some boundaries and you need to advocate for yourself and say, hey, you stepped across a line. Yeah, right? Yeah. You need to check people. But this is the back and forth that really tests people's mettle and really strengthens you in the neighborhoods that we grew up in. So again, like I like to remind people, these values might be different, but different doesn't mean deficient. There's some practical applications to the values that we learn in a hood. And it applies to what we do in business. It isn't going to be this clean cut, business textbook principles, but just know that a lot of what we learned growing up in our rough neighborhoods, like that's carried us through. It's helped us at the very least survive, but in some cases, it's helping us thrive.
Yeah. So just wanted to say something. We had someone in our live chat that said 0 reward to take a job. So kudos to Patrick's time. There's no reward for Fat Joe at all.
That's fine. And that's fine as well. And again, so a quick point about Ja, his energy, amazing. And I think he's been clowned on way too much with everything from Firefest to beef with 50 Cent and pretty
50
much
killed him though. Yeah.
well, all of G Unit. And yeah, like, it got blown up in a public, and some of it was very unfair to Ja because a lot of it wasn't his doing.
Yeah.
Ja and Murder Inc., like they weren't really fighting 50 Cent and G Unit. They were fighting the feds. So you had 50 Cent and G Unit sort of just piling on, and it made it easy for them to bully him. But I think people underestimated, myself included, like all those hits, they're still in our heads, even though he hasn't come out with a hit. Oh my God, the crowd singing along. That's what I missed most about concerts. Like real fans who know the songs, they would sing along. And I thought that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I hope that, next opportunity, if I see another avenue to get free tickets, I'll shoot you a text, Derrick, so that hopefully we can go together. So to transition to our main topic, we actually have a tie-in between the verses and our main topic. So when I went, people made sure that I had some record of vaccination. So I either had to bring to the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden, had to bring like my card or a picture of the vaccination card, with my ID. And I believe there was an option for like proof of testing negative. Mm-hmm. And, everyone that was in there, like there were barely any masks. Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, this is a spreader event.
Super spreader, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I know people are vaccinated, but still, get that double protection. And it got me thinking, we had explored in episode 8 months ago this idea of, hey, look out for companies mandating vaccinations. And a couple months later, look at what's been happening, right? So you've had venues asking for hard proof of vaccinations, but also you have companies asking their employees, hey, you need to be vaccinated, or there's going to be a set of policies that are going to make it super difficult for you to even work here. So for this episode, our main topic is stricter vaccine mandates, yay or nay. So this is a debate part 2 of what we've had. And I'd like you, Derrick, to start off with your initial stance and whether or not you've changed your stance from episode 8.
Yeah. So my initial stance was I believe I don't think companies should mandate the vaccines. I do understand why. I do see the reward why in terms of like why they would do it, and it definitely like makes sense. But with that being said, my view hasn't changed. I would say what I am seeing a lot of is companies are, if they're not putting in the mandate, they're making it not a requirement, but they're making it a way to where you have to get the vaccination. So for instance, you have Delta, the airline company, I believe it was the Delta, but basically what they're doing is that for any of those who don't have like any type of the vaccination, what they're doing is like they're raising their medical costs, just because they're seeing that a lot of those who are unvaxxed have been going to the hospitals more, and because of that, that's affecting their bottom line because now they have to pay out those bills. So I forget how much they put on in terms of like what's that, like that extra charge, but they definitely did that like right away. So I do see more companies doing that, as well as you have more companies that are, let's say if you get vaccinated, you get like a gift card or something like that, or there's some type of incentive. But for those who don't know, recently what Biden said is that for any company over, was it like 100 employees?
I forget.
Okay, let's just say it was just like 100 employees. Believe that it is, but basically, if you have over 100 employees, you have to have that mandate in place. Another thing I will say that I'm seeing a lot is, let's say for instance, if you're the person working at company X and the company is making you get this vaccine. Let's say for instance, if you know you get this vaccine, but in the unlikely chance you get sick or you get sicker or maybe even death, uh, is the company liable because they made you take on this vaccine? So now you have companies that are giving the liability forms to their staff or their team, and you have the employees that are asking for these forms to be signed, because in their eyes, if you're making me take this vaccine and something does happen, you're going to be responsible for whatever happens. So I do see that happening, as well as the mandates are coming down. And just once again, I just want to say, from a company standpoint, it makes sense because companies don't want to be liable for getting customers or clients sick, so they want to make sure that everybody is vaccinated as well as safe and just healthy. But I do think that companies should also allow those who may not want to take the vaccine yet for whatever their reasons are, and just allow them to do that that weekly or that bi-weekly testing.
Great points. And I've reviewed the White House COVID plan
Mm.
as you were speaking. You're right on about 100 plus employees. So they have to ensure that the workers are vaccinated or that they are tested weekly, which again can get very onerous for both the employer and also the employee, right? So they're making it really uncomfortable. And what they're doing is they're nudging you into getting vaccinated, whether it's directly or by forcing employers to require their employees.
Mm.
My initial take in episode 8, again, months ago, we knew this was going to be a thing. We had projected this. So for the early followers of the show, early disciples of the show, I hope you took note from that episode, like that they should, be considering some of these changes down the line. My initial take was, I'm all for it. It's for the greater good. And we have a serious public safety threat. The COVID deaths are nearing the numbers seen in, I believe, like the Spanish flu, right? And again, we have the technology here that can help save lives. Now, yes, there are some one-off cases here and there where there have been adverse effects, but probability-wise, you still have a better shot of being struck by lightning than to have these side effects really affect you and take hold, where you're like, you know what? the risk reward of taking that vaccine wasn't worth it. And then I'll even acknowledge that, you know what, maybe some long-term testing is needed. But you know what? We can't do that right now because this pandemic just happened. So what do we do, right? Do we just wait and not try to get vaccinated where we know that there's one, it's initial data, but this initial data is very comprehensive, relatively speaking. There's enough data that should convince anyone that when you weigh your risk reward, and again, we are on the risk reward show. So we think about risk reward all the time. When you think about risk reward, I think it's a no-brainer. And my stance right now is exactly the same. In fact, kudos to the employers that didn't have to wait till Biden made his announcement. What I will say is in episode 8, we had a beautiful debate, if y'all want to call it that. In fact, I would argue episode 8 is an example of how people can differ, but not be divisive. So it's really sexy to scream at each other back and forth. But what we did in episode 8 is have a civilized conversation with different points of view, but we heard each other out and we showed empathy. I understood that, hey, this is kind of early. You were thinking about your future and having kids. There's no long-term studies on how the vaccines might affect your family planning and reproductive health. I understood that. And my side was, again, I will take that piece of information. You win that. But when I think about all the other factors that are publicly available that scientists have totally kind of literally risk their own careers on. When you got to think about these scientists making these calls, they're risking their entire careers. Folks aren't going to do that without reliable data and info. Like they're not out there like freewheeling, right? So when you consider all of these factors, the rewards of getting a vaccination, the rewards of a company requiring vaccinations totally outweigh any of the risks. So I still stand behind that.
My bad, I was muted. I think another thing that needs to be spoken about is the effect that these mandates are going to have on companies. Like, yes, you're going to make sure that your staff is vaccinated, but people who share the same feelings as I do, they probably won't stay there. Therefore, you're going to have people that are either, I feel like you're really going to have a surge of people that are either going to start their own companies or just find companies that are in like different states. I know before we spoke about how you saw the migration from the north to the south and the west to the east, but I do think you're going to see a lot more people either moving to these states where it's not. I mean, it sucks to say, but you do have states that don't think it's something serious. When one, I will say that it is very, very serious. Like I want to make my stance clear that I'm not an anti-vaxxer at all. I do believe in vaccines. I've taken the ones that I had to. Even when I traveled to Africa, I made sure I'm like, hey, I need my what's it called? Malaria and like everything else. So
MMR, MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella.
Well, for that too, but for the traveling, like I think.
Oh, in Africa, malaria, especially, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I probably had to take like 3 or 4 of them. So, I'm not an anti-vaxxer at all. I do think that what I would love to see more of like the data that I don't think they show is like the people who are recovering from it. I mean, it's more along the lines of like these people are dying, these people are dead and stuff like that. So I do think there is upside to seeing the people who have recovered from it. But also, when it comes to companies, like just like I said, even though you're having this like mandate, which is, you know, something on thinking of like a company in terms of I don't want to get sued. I think that's perfect. Like you should make sure this is something that people do. You, if you're going to have a team, you're going to be interacting with like customers, clients. You need to make sure that you get no one sick. So having that mandate in there is something that's very, very that I see like no problem with. But just like I said again, I just want to make sure that companies are aware and they're ready for this migration that will happen in terms of people who don't want to be forced to actually take it, and they just have to be ready for their team to either shrink or how are they going to deal with that, you know, this like mandate, like will they allow people to do like this weekly testing? Is it something that needs to be done? um and just like really think of the effects of the company too.
And again, the reason I loved our previous conversation in episode 8 is because you're not an anti-vaxxer.
Not
You
at
were
all.
super thoughtful about this. And that was the first instance where I heard a very reasoned opinion from someone who was not quite ready yet to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's a model of how people should actually have civilized conversation and debate over topics that have been way too politicized. Like, it doesn't have to be that. I told you straight up, like, I care about you. I want you healthy. We have a lot of business partnership ahead of us.
Mhm.
So I want you alive for as long as possible.
Yeah.
We have a lot more invites to my crib so we can watch football and drink cucumber mint water together while we down bottles of Merlot, right? We have more of those days ahead of us. I want that with our followers. I want that with our friends. And right now, when we are living under this like public health danger, the vaccine is the best preventative solution that we have right now. And that's just like my bigger picture thinking. But when I start to get into the details of like the risks, so let's start with the risks of companies not mandating vaccines. Well, now, if you have a company that's 100 plus employees, well, now you're going against the orders of the federal government. So I don't know if there's like repercussions in terms of fines.
Yeah, they said it'll be a $14,000 fine, but I want to see how it plays out because federal and city law is going to be like very different, and I want to see what the cities say in terms of fighting off that what's it called, like that the mandate in terms of like fines and stuff like that.
Right. And then other repercussions is, well, you have actual outbreaks. So already I've seen reports in New York City of schools that now have to go virtual because some of their employees were now vaccinated, and some of the initial meetings with families and students ended up becoming super spreader events. So these are the two risks that are at the forefront of a company. If I'm advising a company, I would be like, hey, let's get on board really quickly. This is a strong nudge by the federal government. Overall, it's good for everyone because we're doing our part to help address public safety issue. And let's get started on upgrading those manuals, those handbooks, those HR policies to incorporate this vaccine mandate. And maybe let's get the wording so well defined that we can anticipate any future instances where we might need to, have these health interventions or preventative measures, again, for the benefit of, everyone, like employees and their families. Again, we keep families healthy, and, just keeping it on the business side, we get to do more. We get to make more impact. We get to make more money if everyone's healthy. So let's do that. But then the risks of implementing a vaccine mandate is something, like the biggest one that comes to mind is what you alluded to, which is you're going to ostracize a few folks who are hesitant to get the vaccine, and those could be really talented people, and they might leave. So, there might be a small brain drain. And when you mentioned like the idea of like certain states that were more friendly, let's call it what it is. A lot of the worst COVID rates are in like Republican states. It shouldn't have to be that way. I don't understand why this was like politicized. And if there's some folks that leave a New York, for example, but then go to like a Florida, I mean, there's already a lot of movement there for other reasons, but this strengthens that. And yeah, that's a slight risk. But again, when we're weighing risk and reward, I think the greater risk is to not institute a mandate. So I'm all for it. I'm sticking to my initial opinions. And again, got love for you. I hope you stay healthy. And I do hope you get vaccinated at some point. And I do understand your perspective on like the long-term health effects.
Yeah, appreciate that. I've had plenty of conversations when I try to be like reasonable, but then you have people who are just like, no, that's stupid. You gotta like, what about this and what about that? I'm like, I can't. It's like there's certain people who I can have this talk with, and certain people that I can't. But I'm happy that you're the one of the few that I can actually talk to this just like through and kind of just share like exactly like how I feel and like where I stand. But just going back to the rewards that I see with adding this like mandate for companies coming from a strictly business mindset, it is something that's going to be useful because one, you reduce the liability of getting customers or clients sick. So that's going to be good. Another big reward is that, I mean, if it's a reward at all, but I feel like companies are going to start to kind of like just model this. So let's say, for instance, once people saw like Delta do it, of course, like other airlines would like follow. If you see companies like Goldman Sachs do it, of course, other companies are going to follow. And I feel like it does set like a standard for what companies should do. But like, just like you said before, one of the biggest risks is that, not everybody is willing to take it now. Hopefully within like the coming, months or years, people, I mean, I don't think this will be like a big, like, like topic soon, because there's going to be enough research out there, like enough like data and stuff like that. One thing I will give kudos to that I was talking with someone about too was the fact like how fast this is happening, in terms of not how just how fast like this is happening. The fact that there's mass like testing sites, the vaccine is free, like there's no cost to it. I think that's something that should be modeled in like the future if this does ever happen, ever in just like ever like in the future. But I think that's something we should all be like, wow, like we really did that in a matter of months. We were able to kind of see what's happening and then react to it in like a very positive way, to where people can kind of get the help that they need as fast as possible. So those are the rewards that I see with this like this mandate. But my stance won't change until I feel safe, until my family feels safe, till my future family I feel safe like about that. But in the meantime, I will be, wherever I go, I will be wearing my mask. I have my hand sanitizer band always with me. I think people for some reason are the most now people want to wash their hands. I've been doing that forever. But
20
yeah.
seconds, everybody. 20 seconds under your fingernails,
Yeah.
up to your elbows. Please wash your hands. I seen y'all in the men's bathroom. Come on, fellas.
Yeah, just continue to wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Don't put your fingers in your mouth and stuff like that. These are things that I was taught from young, so that's why I've really never been sick because I've known not to touch stuff. So
And also a quick addition to that, like overall health. There's been a lot of like comorbidity issues here. So like look into your lifestyles and like what you're eating and how active you are, right? That's gonna decrease the chances that, you know, COVID will hit you even harder than, you know, it would otherwise. So, you know, start eating those leafy green vegetables all the time.
get you some
Maybe
kale.
eat a little less meat and, you know, get in the gym or like be super active like myself and Derrick playing like football with folks, playing some intramural sports, but like get active. So again, bigger overall lifestyle. But your point regarding like the infrastructures that's been set out, so that next time like we won't panic. And I think one of the biggest reasons why COVID really hit us hard is because folks weren't prepared at multiple levels of government, and it ended up where their lack of preparation caused panic.
Yeah.
And that's a good transition to our right move right now, which starts with your advice, Derrick. Don't panic. So, in what
Yeah.
context, Derrick, do you mean don't panic?
So for those who watch the show, I mean, you should know that Chris and I are very involved within stocks, and today has been a very, very bloody day. But I think, as always, for anybody who's new to the space of investing, whenever they see red, they think, oh, we should just start selling now because everything's going like down. But this is literally a good time. This is like one of the best times to actually buy. Companies are, I think the S&P is doing like the worst though. I think they 5% down, something like that. Or probably like,
I think at its worst point today, it may have touched
like
Oh,
3.
you know what? I think it's down 5% from its high.
Okay, yeah, but most like 90% of the companies within like the S&P, I think we're all red. So this is your time to start doing your research to see what companies you can get at a discounted price, because you know when you normally see red, you think sell, and it goes to what the advice is of just like don't panic. Yes, things may look bad right now, but this is your chance to really just like capitalize and get the upside of like these low prices.
So to add to that, the don't panic theme, 4 weeks ago, we were using this segment, this right move right now segment, to tell you all like, hey, this fall season, September, October, kind of rough on the markets. You all might want to hedge. So I've done that for the past few weeks, and I made a little money off of it. Now, I wish I didn't sell my hedges on all my hedges on Friday. I wish I kept some because I could have made a few extra $1,000 today. But I felt it too. But this is part of the game of investing. Like I have a set of risky stocks. Stock investing in itself carries with it risk, and that's the price you pay to play the game. So I understood that, lost a few $1,000 today. But I don't sweat it. And also a 5% full pullback, nothing, absolutely nothing. And for those of you who felt that panic, I just want to remind you that less than 2 years ago, right, we had a real panic when COVID first hit. Because that was a dip where I felt like, uh-oh, like this is something to worry about. But again, a lot of people made money from that panic, and this these times, I'm not gonna say this day is the time to buy. I bought one thing and I sold one thing, right? And it worked out in both cases really well. But now's not the time to panic. I don't think the selling is over. So I still got
Nah,
some cash to pile in. But in the long term, I still stick to the belief that stocks are gonna go up. So um, I reiterate your message to not panic at all. But if you had watched the last 4 episodes, this probably shouldn't have surprised you today. So let's
what's
handle this a
your
little
right
better.
move right now?
Yeah, my right move is related to the Forbes Next 1000 list. So one of the most amazing things about being on that list is being part of the network. So I'm in the Slack channel and I'm getting to know some of these emerging entrepreneurs. So I want everyone to look into the Forbes Next 1000 list. And don't search for me, man. Search for all the other folks who are in so many various spaces, and hopefully they come on as guests. So we have an extra commonality now that I'm on the list. So
Mhm.
don't be surprised if we start pulling Forbes next 1000 members onto the show. So you know it's looking bright on many horizons for us.
Got you. Well, if you see anyone within that crypto space,
Oh,
let me know.
definitely.
Yeah,
There's people in the option space, so lots of entrepreneurs. I'm excited about this opportunity, and hopefully we pull in a few folks. And with that, we would like to thank you all for again following and commenting live, so that we can incorporate it in the show. So Derrick, shout out that audience member once again.
Patrick's time. Oh, I didn't realize he was putting on comments. So we'll definitely take a look at all of the stats that you put in for the for COVID also. But
Yeah.
really appreciate you being very active with us. Hope you join us for the next show too.
Yes. So again, follow, share, comment, send in some questions that we can answer. And again, thank you for like getting us through this 31st episode, and we have more to come. So we'll see you next time. Thank you.